I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, cocktail guru Jonathan Pogash shakes things up with some Valentine's Day-inspired concoctions. That's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Culture Show. I'm Jared Bowen, and here for the second time in the last 10 minutes, our co-hosts Callie Crossley and Edgar B. Horwick III. It's time to literally shake things up with Jonathan Pogash, founder and owner of The Cocktail Guru. Ahead of Valentine's Day and GBH's upcoming event, the Valentine's Day Soiree on February 14th, he's serving up some love in Studio 6 by way of some romantic cocktails, and given Edgar's penchant for the Hallmark Channel and Callie's devotion to Jane Austen, he has a very receptive audience here, and given the technical snafus we had, I am ready to drink.
You are ready. I am here for you. That's why I'm here.
So what makes a cocktail romantic?
Wow. Well, I personally like including aphrodisiac ingredients. So these are ingredients that might, elevate the heart rate, stimulate desire, things of that nature. And then also my drinks tend to have, at least this go around, European ingredients like Portugal, Spain, France, Italy. So the romance languages, and I'm kind of incorporating all of that into my cocktails this time around.
So Valentine's Day cocktails to me fall into two categories: the chocolate ones or the red ones or the pink ones. And any along the spectrum, that to me is a Valentine's Day cocktail.
Yes, I would agree with that. And that's kind of the baseline that I start on. And then I kind of incorporate some of my specific themes and my ethos with my cocktail creating in that specific sort of outline of drinks. So I do have one with chocolate, and then I have kind of a spritzy port wine-based cocktail. So another thing that I'm trying to focus on is sort of lower alcohol, lower ABV cocktails, so that, you can enjoy Valentine's Day with your love or on your own if you don't have anybody, and you can kind of just enjoy the evening instead of having it be somewhat of a waste.
Yeah.
Just have enough conviction to be able to walk up to the bar and make that first introduction.
Exactly.
But be able to make the introduction.
Yes, right. So just, you don't need your inhibitions completely out the door. Just keep a little bit of that.
Just loosened up a little bit.
Loosened up a tad.
Well, that's interesting because, so many wines now are heavily alcoholic. And so that gives people an option not to do that. And by the way, how would you rate cocktails versus wine in a romantic situation? I'm a wine drinker, but I love a cocktail.
Yeah, I mean, I always relate it to food. So I think if you've got a menu that you're planning, or if you're going out, kind of pair those flavors with whatever food you're having. Wine is terrific as sort of an aperitif or aperitivo. And then, maybe later on you want to move to the harder stuff and kind of incorporate that into your evening.
So what are you going to start us off with?
Yes, so first of all, I have the Cupid's Arrow. And this is kind of a spritzy port wine-based cocktail. So this is Sandeman port, which I love using in cocktails. And we all know and love port wine. It is a fortified aromatized wine. So it has, delicious grapes from Portugal, but then they add grape-based spirit to it to kind of up the proof a little bit. So I added a little bit to my mixing glass here. I have some... this is a fresh lime agave sour. Ooh. Yes, it's delicious. This is from a company from Connecticut. They're called Ripe, and they're really lovely.
And where might you get that if you were interested?
You can get it at Whole Foods. They sell it there. And this is a Spanish sparkling wine, cava, so fresh net. Yes, exactly. So like I said, European ingredients, we've got Portugal, we've got Spain, and I'm going to give it a little pop. And when you're opening your bottles of champagne or Prosecco, always keep your thumb on the cork there so that it doesn't pop off, and then point it away from people. Right?
Very important step.
And twist the bottle and push down on the cork so that you just, in France they call it le bisou, the little kiss.
That's right. And I should mention that just like Sally Ling was talking about earlier, you're not using measuring cups or anything. You're just pouring. You have a pretty acute sense at this point.
Yes. I mean, I occasionally do use jiggers and my measuring devices. For this go around, I kept the cocktails pretty easy, so they're basically equal part cocktails. Okay. So at this point, I can gauge it in my brain.
Is that an aged port?
It is a ruby port, so there's some age to it. Yes, and I'm just going to kind of strain this out.
Yeah, go for it.
Ooh, it's so pretty.
And you have stirred rather than shaken. Why is that?
Well, that's because there are bubbles in there. With bubbles in there, oh boy, you don't want to shake anything. I'm going to add just a touch of the tahine as a little garnish.
Oh, nice.
All right, so we'll just sprinkle a little bit on top there. Yeah, there
So
you
it's
go.
sort of a cranberry color, I would say.
Yes,
As we look at this,
like a
Nice.
ruby. Yes, like a ruby color.
cranberry
Sorry, Callie.
color.
Yeah.
Oh, and it sparkles with that. By the way, we're speaking with Jonathan Pogash, founder and owner of the Cocktail Guru, who will also be here for the Valentine's Day soiree on February 14th. I'm guessing Kelly likes this already.
I really like
Oh,
it. And
yeah.
the other thing that we learned in our first conversation with Jonathan, which is exhibited here, it's really cold. So I just love it because it just gives you that extra.
Right. Yeah. You know, temperature is. Did I talk about that last time? Temperature in cocktails. You know, that's super important.
Yeah.
And ice and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, this is really
This is
delicious.
quite
Tastes
yummy.
like Portugal, Spain, and Connecticut.
Exactly. I like
Edgar,
that.
it tastes like love in a glass.
It does. It actually.
Love in a glass.
Callie.
And this is something that we're going to make at the Valentine's event here at the studio in a big punch bowl. So it'll be pre-batched, and I just kind of ladle it out and give it to folks. And
It sort of has a punch-like sort of taste to it, and it's
Yes.
interesting because it doesn't. Sometimes I find cocktails made with wine taste too much like wine, and I'm like, well, I'd rather just be drinking wine, like you know. But
Right.
this doesn't really taste like wine. It tastes
Yeah.
like its own beast.
Right, and I attribute that to the port wine more than anything
More than anything else,
Yeah,
just
because-
this particular port or just port in general, because
Right, I mean,
it
it's a
doesn't
little bit
have
more-
as much of a winey flavor.
right, a little bit more complex than just your basic red wine.
Plus, it's I'm from the part of the country. I think I said this last time you were here. That punches are really important. You know,
Yes.
we Southerners like a good punch.
Absolutely.
in all kinds of varieties.
Yes.
And so, anytime that something can be put together in a batch way,
Mm-hmm.
that's fun and also interesting looking and tasty. I'm all about it.
Yeah, you're always going to see me making punches for large gatherings.
Yeah, this is also like it's sort of. It doesn't taste particularly wintry or summery, right? It's very kind of, I could imagine drinking this any time of year.
Kind of bridging the gap, I
Yeah.
think, between winter and spring coming, especially with this weather outside and the weather coming this weekend.
It's nice.
Okay,
It's gonna
is
be
this
nice
one
in
you
the
make for
50s.
your honey bunny, or you're making a different one?
Oh, I will make this for my honey bunny, and my wife Megan, she'll be joining me at this Valentine's
very
Day
nice.
event,
Oh.
and so we're gonna serve drinks out to everybody together.
So you really are a family affair, because last time we talked about your dad and how much you're connected to your dad in this process and having the Cocktail Guru.
That's right. Yeah, my dad is a huge part of my life and my work and our podcast that we do together, which is all about food and drink and culture and just our experiences and documenting the people that we want to talk to that we've encountered throughout our lives. He has 50 plus years in the industry, and I have 25 plus years in the industry. So yeah, it's great to work with your family.
Yeah.
I like him. I like my dad. he's a good guy.
That's great to be
thankfully.
able to say. So I understand you're making another cocktail too? A
I
second
am.
one?
I am. So this one is your chocolate-based drink,
Yes.
Callie. So
Yes.
I've got the Mozart chocolate cream liqueur that I'm adding to my
With a lovely
glass
gold
right over here.
foil wrap on it.
Oh,
that
yes.
is a
Isn't that cool?
yeah, that's a
It is.
display piece on its own.
Yes,
It's
it
also
is.
very, very thick chocolate.
It is a little viscous here.
What's wrong with that?
I'm just thinking
You
in
say
terms
that
of
like
the-
it's a bad thing.
Right.
the shaking or stirring will
Absolutely
be a
nothing at all.
little more effort.
And I'm going to add some orange flavored vodka.
Oh, orange and chocolate,
Sobieski, yeah. Just a little bit. And then now I'm adding a passion fruit liqueur from Marie Brizard. So I love blending together these sort of tropical flavors with chocolate and coffee. So I'm going to give this a shake. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
We're ready.
All right. And you'll see there's a special little top-off garnish that I'm going to do on this. So you'll see. You'll be shocked and amazed. I think.
Not from really chocolate.
That sound never gets old. I love that sound.
Right?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so here I'm going to strain this out into these are beautiful little coupe glasses. Thank you.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
great.
So
And by the way, coupes are coming back.
They are coming
Or
back.
Yeah.
they've come back, or maybe I should say, because there was a time when you just wouldn't see them, and now they're in so many different varieties and beautiful.
I think it's among the things that Mad Men helped usher back as
yeah.
we looked to the 50s.
that's
and-
right.
Yeah.
So here you may be thinking, why does Jonathan have a protein shaker
Yeah.
with a little metal ball in it? So I have pomegranate syrup and coconut almond milk.
Oh my God! Take me now.
And
Callie's already had a few sips of
Wow,
her
Cal-
aphrodisiac.
This is the point of the cocktail, right? I'm going to call this the Take Me Now. That's the name of the drink. So I'm going to shake this, and it's going to make it really frothy because of that metal ball inside.
What does the metal ball do?
It emulsifies all of those ingredients.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Nope.
hey.
And where do you
okay.
again? Where do you get said metal ball? Can you just get that at any like kind of bar supply store, or
Well,
is it?
This you can get in the supermarket, the protein shaker. It comes
Yeah.
with a metal ball. in it.
So okay, so
Yeah.
it's all a piece of the same. So
And
you're
I'm just
pouring
gonna-
over a spoon here. So you got one of
Pour it
these,
over the spoon.
and that is just why. So it doesn't incorporate. So it lays on the top.
Yeah,
You want
so
it to
kinda
lay
lays
gentler.
a little on the top.
Layered drinks. They're really coming back on the cocktail scene.
Oh, that's interesting to know that you do it with a spoon. I didn't realize that's how it's done.
This one's a tad messy, but that's okay.
You're giving
That's all right.
baristas a run for their money.
Thank
There
you.
go. Kind of a
Thank
nice
you.
little swirly
Ooh,
pink
it's so
presence on top.
pretty.
I might wait to sip so I don't spit it out when I hear Callie's reaction.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, so this is very
nice looking,
as we look at
yeah.
this, it's your sort of classic light chocolate color, and then that protein shake bit is
Pink swirly.
is sort of pink laying on top. It's very
like,
nice.
It's actually like an abstract painting if you're
You're
really
right.
looking at it with the
Yes,
beautiful
isn't it?
purple.
Okay,
in there.
guys. This is.
Do you want mine,
Come
Callie?
on. I would fight you for it, but we're in public.
Wow, no fights here.
Oh, that's
This,
delicious.
isn't this delicious?
So these are cocktails that you're adapting, that you're wholesale creating, and how do you do that? How do you carve out the time?
To create the cocktails?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I have a lab at home that has a bar and shelves of liquor after liquor after liquor,
Really?
and glassware and bar tools. So I experiment. Oftentimes, since I've been doing this for so long, I kind of know the combinations, so I can taste it in my brain, and then I will execute it. And more often than not, it works. I'd say 90% of the time it works, and if it doesn't, I'll tweak it. But then sometimes, if it completely is totally off, then I might throw it out and then start over again.
Does your wife test too? I mean, I think we all know that we have different palates. Our taste buds are all
Yeah.
different, so
Yeah.
you want to have a sense.
She definitely taste tests. I would say if you asked her, she would say she could taste test even more. Because, I travel a fair amount, and a lot of my R&D is done outside of the house, some of it in the house. And I'm not a huge drinker, so it's not like I make myself a drink when I'm at home. I only drink when I'm out and doing events and things like that. I rarely drink at home. I might have one beer on the weekend. Yeah. That's about it.
Now, I think about, for example, songwriters who I talk to, and for some songwriters, what they might do is they'll sit down and they'll pick up their guitar, or they'll sit at the piano and they'll start fiddling around a bit and build that way. Others might be driving in the car and it's all sort of happening in their head, and then they'll sit down at the instrument. So for you, when you're creating cocktails,
Yeah.
Is it sort of happening in your head when you hit inspiration and you write a little note down in your phone or something, or do you sort of get some stuff out and just start playing?
That's a really good question. I would say it's a combination of both, I think. So sometimes I will be driving in the car, or I'll be just waking up and I'll have the idea and I'll kind of write it down in my phone. Or other times I will go to the grocery store and I will see what's around, and I will get inspired by what I might see, farmers markets, doing research online, seeing what ingredients are sort of up and coming, what new spirit and liqueur brands are coming out, and that might serve as the inspiration. So I guess a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But how much does you're having an understanding of what each ingredient does? So it's like a good cook. If you have very good familiarity with, what this spice will do in this situation, then you can mix. So we started with this delicious drink, which I've slurped down, because there's orange and chocolate, and that's a great combination.
Right.
And then you built on it with the tropical citrus fruits, which of course would also be a good combination.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And I'm a big foodie also, and I grew up as a foodie. My parents are foodies, so I kind of have that flavor combination experience since I was a very, very small child. So I think that has really helped me elevate my palate and grow my palate.
I was out with the chef the other night and we had Negronis,
Oh,
and
I love Negronis.
and this was probably the best I ever had, and her whole face changed, and it was like watching a computer, because I could see her trying to decode what was in the Negroni, because it just had this great little punch to it, but it was fantastic. Can you do that? Can you taste a drink and know exactly what's in it?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, and I definitely analyze, when I'm going out to cocktail bars, I sit and I try to figure out what's in it. Normally, what's in it is on the menu, so I'm kind of predisposed to knowing what's in it already. But yeah, I love picking up on different layers, and when I create my cocktails, I try to bring that experience to the guest and to the people trying my drinks. Maybe you'll take a sip and you'll think, okay, well, that doesn't really taste like it does on paper. Like if I see it on paper, it might not work, but then if I taste it, it works really well. Or the opposite, maybe it doesn't work that well. But having that layered experience, from top to middle to bottom to, how it makes you feel at the end of the drink, I think is the kind of the whole experience of the cocktail.
So, what do you tell somebody who is a little intimidated by trying many different ingredients? Like, what would be like a basic cocktail to make for your Valentines?
I would say a basic sour. So, for instance, a gimlet with gin. So, a story that I always like to tell is at one of my first bartending jobs in New York City, I was always trying to push gin as opposed to vodka. Everybody wanted vodka. And I would say, well, excuse me, do you enjoy flavored vodka? And they would say, yes, of course. And I'd say, okay, do you want to try a juniper flavored vodka? And so I would make them a gin drink. And they would love it. And they're like, what is this juniper flavored vodka that I'm tasting? So gin, fresh lime juice, and simple syrup. And you can use honey syrup instead of simple syrup, which is just diluted honey and water.
That sounds good.
Well, thank you so much for these fabulous and beautiful cocktails, these aphrodisiac cocktails. We appreciate it.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Callie, I know.
Callie.
Callie is totally into
Getting
it.
a little warm in here, everybody.
That's why I'm sweating here.
And I'm
Holy
just going to
moly.
start reading. Jonathan Pogash is founder and owner of the Cocktail Guru. He also co-hosts the Cocktail Guru podcast with his father, Jeffrey Pogash. He'll be part of GBH's event, the Valentine's Day Soiree, on February 14th. To learn more, go to wgbh.org/events. I'm Jared Bowen.
I'm Callie Crossley.
And I'm Edgar B. Herwick III.
We'll all be back in the studio tomorrow for our Arts and Culture Week in Review. The Culture Show crew is Brian Bell, Max Chow-Gillette, Kate Dellis, Molly McCall, and Chelsea Mers. If you ever miss us live here on the radio, you can keep up with all things arts and culture by way of the Culture Show podcast. Just go to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.